Yeah,
Hi, Mandy. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining the Scale Up
likewise.
Africa podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've been having some really great conversations about Sanctum, your organizations, and how you practice, stewardship and wealth creation. And Scale Up Africa is all about the global community, global cooperation in terms of impact of philanthropy and development. So I just love to hear more about your personal story and how you came to be in this current place you are at now.
yeah. Thanks so much for having me. There's a few different frameworks that I've used throughout my time. I have always been a person who feels deeply connected to my ancestors. Um, because have felt a lot of unearned privilege in my career. I started my career as an early employee at startups here in Silicon Valley and was able to experience an IPO in my 20s, two IPOs in my 20s. And that experience alongside what I blatantly knew that I didn't have access to, which was building that wealth and an understanding of what it meant to have that type of resource. I thought it wasn't mine. I thought I didn't have any ownership of it, and I was afraid to do anything but pay off my student loans. And it wasn't until I left the corporate space and began my own investing journey when I truly realized what kind of power my participation had in investing in women, in investing in Black people here in the States, and investing in regions within the US that don't typically get a lot of investment and venture capital dollars. Um, so my journey to inclusive philanthropy was in my journey of investing. I was like, philanthropy and investing are very much the same thing, except that one has expectations for returns, and one is often done by women because they don't think that they can invest, they can only be philanthropists. So I'm like, we need to merge these two, one, and two, when I would be reconnecting to the teachings of Bell Hooks, the teachings of James A. Sneed, and the teaching of James Baldwin, I remembered that like we are conditioned to be in a linear path that is white supremacist, conservative values, but we are a cyclical, rhythmic culture. And so the more that we can participate and engage in our own communities and circulate money to each other, the better chance we have of fueling our own innovations. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, and many communities and cultures do that. It is cyclical. You keep the
Right.
dollars in your community, in your economy, and and now it's gone obviously a little bit extreme with protectionist ideals, but generally speaking, I mean, it makes total sense to make those dollars circulate, and I totally agree that impact your return on impact and your return on investment don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? It's kind of two sides of the same coin. And
Yeah.
so it's great to hear about that. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts and what you hear from corporate philanthropy, from women in philanthropy. What do you feel the emerging trends are in terms of shifting towards a more trust-based, long-term relational culture in the field of philanthropy, which is something that we're very much advocating for at Scale Up
Yeah,
Africa.
when it comes to philanthropy in particular, I had a conversation with someone a few weeks ago at this club I'm a part of, and she was like, I started my philanthropic journey and I just feel like I didn't do it right. Like I gave too much to one organization and then I realized they were like taking advantage of me and they were using me and it didn't feel good. And she felt really like she hadn't done enough work on herself
Mm,
before she decided to go on this philanthropy journey, and she was really interested in like, I want to know how I can do this better. How, and I was like, you're an investor. You are an investor. Like you made it. Everyone makes bad investments.
yes,
That's how they learn. And so when I framed it that way to her, it made a lot more sense. She's like, "Oh, okay. Like how do I use my skills? What are the things that I'm energized by? What are the things that I'm pulled in towards? And how do I also practice saying no? Like how do I first establish so this is what I've been finding is a lot of people want to participate, but they're chasing after the sexy things or the things they're told to invest in, as
right.
opposed to thinking about
They what
first
they
what are the
care
things
about
that,
and their values and their
yeah,
purpose, right?
yeah, which I mean is. again, we're told not to do. We're told to get everything from the outside as opposed to what are the things that I really care about
And
and
starting
going
from
through.
within. Such an important thing. And you and I were
Yeah.
talking earlier about, physical journeys and experiences to learn and having space and holding space to learn and go through that journey and process. And so we were talking about how we're promoting our upcoming tour to Africa, where people can come and literally go on a, personal development journey and just see what impact they can make in a broader sense and have the space and time to do that. So tell me a little bit more about the role of intermediaries. I mean, you're talking about how your lady just now, the example you gave, she gave to one organization, she wasn't sure how to do it. But I think this is where the role of intermediaries like you, like me, like many of us in this space can actually make that philanthropic journey a lot more smooth and diversified, like a portfolio and investment. But just talk to me a little bit more about your thoughts on the role of intermediaries and advisors in the space around philanthropy and impact.
Yeah. A lot of advisors in the family office space, um, I strongly believe are still in a mindset of self-preservation. And so they can be very conservative in how they want you to think about giving.
Hmm.
Whereas you have people like myself who do facilitations around like what is a Susu model?
Hmm.
What is the Gamine model? Like, what are these ways in which we can have, or what are the ways in which we can have serious impact when we are values aligned, and when we also name the ways that we've been conditioned to give in the past, or the ways that our culture has been conditioned to give. And so the importance of intermediaries is huge because it really can we can really activate people in ways that are values aligned as opposed to them feeling like they don't know what they're doing and that they're just being used for their money. Like that's a very different relationship.
It is. It is. Mandy, thanks so much. What's your final word for anyone holding wealth and considering doing more around global development and philanthropy? What would be your last piece of advice to someone considering how best to engage and get this right?
Call me. And
And call me.
and
Call us.
yes, call us and join communities like Sanctum, like Scale Up Africa, where you have people who are also on this journey with you so that you don't feel like you're behind. I think that's a lot of times why people don't participate is they feel like they should already know this stuff
Right.
when we really don't because this isn't stuff we're taught in school.
Yeah.
It's not stuff we're taught in professional development because in professional development it's about how can we extract the most from you while you're here as opposed to how can we have a love leadership ethic and make you beneficial to the world.
Yeah, yeah. And tell me a little bit about the guilt and of privilege, because I know a lot of wealth holders, they tell me, I hear all the time, I feel guilty, I'm not sure what to do, I'm overwhelmed. Tell me a little bit about that psychology behind that and how you advise your people to get over that and actually get on track.
That's conditioning.
Mm,
And I think once we take a moment, and I could go into this, I know we only have a few minutes, but I could go into this for hours around how conservative values are and even some organized religions are about
hmm.
control and self-preservation, and that results in us believing that the things that we have done are a result of who we are as people when that's not the case. It's a
Right,
result of our conditioning.
right,
So if we grow up in a place where it's never talked about to be philanthropic or it's never talked about to like develop your own interests, then like how can we possibly it we then but then we also feel guilty about not knowing. Like we have to separate our guilt from our responsibility.
right.
Malcolm X says this, like it's not our responsibility that we ended up in the situation. It's not our fault, but it is absolutely our responsibility to liberate ourselves. And that no one else can do that for us. And so when we take pride, when we take excitement and joy and energy towards like our own liberation, that is when we can have really amazing impact.
Yeah, and I think that's why communities, like you said, Sanctum, Scale Up Africa, like this is what we are here to create. So thank you so
Yeah.
much, Mandy. Really good to hear from you and looking forward to partnering more this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the time. Thanks for having
Thanks so
me.
much.
Yeah.